Orient Season 1 begins by showing a country called Hinamoto in 1568, where the demon race began to rule the human world. Fortunately, at that time, a group of samurai consisted of several legendary swordsmen, commonly referred to as Bushidan. The Bushidan samurai group is the only army that dares to face and fight against the demons so that the human race is not enslaved by the demons. The scene switches to the present time in a city called Tatsuyama, which until now is still a colony of demons, so many humans in that city worship demons and are enslaved by demons to become miners. Even in Tatsuyama, there is a gold mining training school for teenage boys who are educated to dream of becoming professional miners. Among the students at the mining school was a male student named Musashi, who was known to be very hardworking and skilled at using large axes. In the past, the samurai was known as a hero or protector. Still, in Tatsuyama, the children were indoctrinated with a doctrine that regarded the samurai as an enemy who always used violence like monsters. Musashi secretly denies that teaching because he knows that the Bushidan samurai are the only group that dares to fight against the demons. He has even often practiced swordsmanship with his best friend, Kojiro, since he was a child, and they dream of becoming a Bushidan samurai. After school, Musashi sees Kojiro and invites him to go to another city and hunt down demons. But Kojiro refused his invitation and said he had buried his dream of becoming a samurai. He deliberately said that so Musashi would stop dreaming of being a samurai and live a normal life like any other teenager. He doesn't want Musashi to live a difficult life and be ostracized by society like him. Since childhood, Kojiro was known as a descendant of the Bushidan samurai. Because of that, he was often despised and ostracized by society because they considered the samurai as their enemy. On the next day, Musashi and the others arrive at the ceremony to accept the new miners who will serve the demons for the rest of their lives. When all the mining students arrived at the site, they looked surprised by the giant demon that forced and enslaved everyone to continue mining without rest. The demons even ruthlessly killed and punished any miners who failed to carry out their duties. However, Musashi knew from the beginning that the demon was the real monster, and he was the only student who was not surprised by the terrible incident. Musashi eagerly intends to fight the giant demons, but he just realizes that his weapon has been left at the entrance. As a result, Musashi, who had provoked the demon's wrath, had to face all the attacks until he fell to the ground and was seriously injured. In a moment of crisis, Kojiro suddenly barged in using his motorcycle and managed to save him from the grip of the demon's hand. He immediately threw Musashi's weapon, and they started to fight against the demons together. During the fight, a red light appeared from the top of the hill, indicating the presence of the great Kishin demon, so Musashi and Kojiro immediately rushed to the top of the hill. After arriving at the top of the hill, they saw the demon turned into a giant red monster that was very strong after it ate the offerings of the demon's servants. The red Kishin demon immediately attacked Musashi with one powerful attack that sent him flying far away and falling unconscious. Seeing this, Kojiro tried to withstand the demon's attack, but it instead targeted his samurai sword, which was a relic sword from his father. Kojiro tries to defend the sword with all his might because he remembers the message from his late father that the samurai sword is the pride of a Bushidan. Unfortunately, Kojiro wasn't strong enough to withstand the demon's attack, so the demon managed to grab his samurai sword. Musashi, who had returned to his feet, immediately attacked the demon's stomach by using his weapon repeatedly to make the demon feel pain. As a result, the demon started hitting its own stomach until it started to open, and Musashi immediately took the opportunity to take Kojiro's samurai sword. Not long after, a group of samurai named Bushidan Takeda appeared up the hill and asked Musashi and Kojiro to retreat because attacking the Kishin demon was very dangerous. But Musashi refused to back down and quickly rushed to attack it, which had regenerated to be stronger than before. The commander of the samurai squad named Takeda seemed impressed by his enthusiasm and courage. Seeing Musashi's passion and determination, Takeda ordered his troops to help him defeat the Kishin demon. They tied the demon with sacred ropes to attack it more easily. While Musashi fights alongside the other samurai, Kojiro follows the demon's servants to find out what the Kishin demon's weakness is. Shortly after, Kojiro came to Musashi and told him that the Kishin demon's weak point was in the horns on the demon's head. Hearing this, Musashi eagerly attacked the demon's horn alone so that he could kill it and intended to make it his first achievement to become a Bushidan. Unfortunately, Musashi's flapping weapon wasn't strong enough to split the demon's horn, so instead of slashing the horn, he destroyed his own weapon. When the Kishin demon was about to attack Musashi from close range, Takeda quickly saved him and slashed the demon's horns until it died. After successfully killing the demon, Takeda apologized to him because he had snatched Musashi's first achievement. As the Kishin demon's body disintegrates and releases energy shards, Takeda and the entire samurai army raise their swords to absorb the power of the demon into their swords. After that incident, the miners who had been enslaved by the Kishin demon for years thanked Takeda for freeing them from the demon's shackles. They have also managed to capture the servants of the demons loyal to the demons and imprison them so that Tatsuyama City is finally free from them. Before Takeda and his troops left, he gave a gift to Musashi as compensation for having captured his first achievement. It turns out that the object that Takeda gave him was a precious and useful object for his future demon hunt. That thing is a demonic kaleidoscope capable of detecting and tracking the whereabouts of the powerful demons in Hinamoto. After that, they unrolled the Bushidan, which informed them that 100 Kishin demons were scattered throughout Hinamoto. A Bushidan who managed to defeat all the strongest demons would be assigned as the unifier of the land and king of Hinamoto. After knowing this, Musashi is determined to hunt down all the demons and defeat the strongest demons in the land so that he can become the king of Hinamoto. The next day, Kojiro and Musashi decide to leave Tatsuyama City and begin their adventure to hunt demons across the country. Along the way, they promise to always look after and protect each other even though they are in tough conditions. A week after they went on their adventure, Musashi and Kojiro began to run out of food supplies, and they had to push Kojiro's motorbike, which suddenly broke down. Fortunately, on the way, they found a river where they could replenish their drinking water supply and catch fish for them to eat. Since he was used to living independently since he was a child, Kojiro could easily catch a lot of fish, while Musashi still hadn't caught any fish, so he decided to fish on a different side of the river. Shortly after that, when Musashi returned to Kojiro's place, he found that Kojiro had been injured, and suddenly, Musashi was attacked from behind. It turns out that the person who attacked them was a green-haired girl named Tsugumi who intended to take their samurai sword. The fight between Musashi and Tsugumi was unavoidable. They fought each other until she suddenly heard a voice from another direction and decided to leave the place while carrying Kojiro's motorbike. It turns out that she deliberately carried out the robbery on orders from her master named Kosameda. Kosameda is the leader of the Bushidan samurai group. Kojiro and Musashi were annoyed that Tsugumi had stolen their vehicle, so they immediately went after her to the Bushidan Kosameda castle. As they passed through the castle gates, they looked amazed and surprised to learn that within the castle, there was a small village inhabited by residents. Tsugumi then explains that the village and the Bushidan castle can move to another place to find the location of the Kishin demons. She also says that she actually has an older sister named Tsubame, but she has died in the battle against the demons, and since then, she has lived without any family. Several nights after that, Musashi and Kojiro looked surprised after seeing the Kodama demon army's arrival from the castle's roof. At the same time, Kosameda ordered Tsugumi to mobilize the castle residents to fight against the Kodama demon army. But unlike usual, Tsugumi decided to go against Kosameda's orders because she didn't want to sacrifice the castle residents. Unfortunately, it made her threatened by Kosameda, who said that he would expel her from the castle and let her live alone in the wild. Tsugumi was so frightened that she had no choice but to obey Kosameda's words. Fortunately, Musashi and Kojiro came to the castle and convinced her to fight together to defeat the Kodama demon army and protect the castle residents. They immediately rushed off to save the castle's residents from Kosameda's evil plans. On the other hand, Kosameda had gathered the residents and ordered the castle residents to fight against the Kodama demon army. Hearing the order, the residents looked panicked and shocked because they felt they would not be able to fight against them because most of them were women and children. At first, Kojiro and Musashi threw something into the fire to make the fire bigger and create a lot of smoke to cover the vision of Kosameda's troops. After that, Tsugumi will try to buy time by talking in front of the residents and Kosameda, while Kojiro and Musashi will use that opportunity to defeat all of Kosameda's subordinates. After seeing Kosameda threatening the residents, Tsugumi tried to muster herself up to fight against him. At first, she seemed to have a hard time fighting him because all of her attacks were successfully blocked by him, but after she took out her Kidetsu weapon, she finally managed to defeat him. The castle's residents also used the opportunity to escape from the castle to a safer place before the Kodama demon came. Musashi and Kojiro immediately took Tsugumi away by using their vehicle to a safer place. The next day, when they and the castle residents returned to the castle, they found all the buildings had been destroyed by the Kodama demon army. The castle's residents immediately rushed to repair their house together and looked happy after being freed from the shackles of Kosameda's power. Before Musashi and Kojiro left, one of the elders of the castle residents asked them to take Tsugumi away with them so that she could be freed from Kosameda's shadow. That night, Tsugumi looks sad because she is not ready to leave the castle and the residents who have been like family to her all this time. Seeing the sadness on her face, Musashi approached her and tried to accompany her until she felt calm. The next day, Musashi, Kojiro, and Tsugumi went on their adventure to hunt down the blue Kishin demon. Along the way, Tsugumi is still trying to learn to adapt to Musashi and Kojiro because she has never made new friends besides the castle residents. She acts strangely by avoiding Kojiro and clinging to Musashi, but after she explains that she doesn't know how to make friends, they can understand her. The next day, when Tsugumi and Kojiro were resting in the tent, Musashi saw a small demon running with Kojiro's sword, so he chased it. After successfully approaching the demon, Musashi quickly hit it with his iron rod, but that action broke his stick. The little demon kept running away, carrying Kojiro's sword to a field full of hundreds of Kitetsu swords. Musashi then took one of the swords in the field to attack the little demon thief, but when he held the sword, an aura of darkness suddenly appeared around him. After he managed to kill the demon thief with one sword slash, he intended to absorb the demon's power, but the sword was broken instead. In the field filled with hundreds of swords, Musashi meets two mysterious people obsessed with collecting weapons and swords. But before he could ask about their identities, the two mysterious people had already left. When Tsugumi came to Musashi, he looked surprised because the two mysterious people and the other Kitetsu's eyes had disappeared, and only Kojiro's sword was left. After that, Musashi and the others went on their way to a place that sold various equipment and weapons for Bushidans. Musashi and Kojiro intend to buy a new Kitetsu sword and other equipment in preparation for their next hunt. They looked excited because it was their first time seeing a city full of Bushidan samurai. When the three of them ate together, they decided to name their group Bushidan Kanemaki and selected Kojiro as the leader for their group. After waiting for several hours, the auction of 25 Kitetsu swords was made by the famous swordsman of the Bushidan Ryuzoji named Miss Mitsuru. Kojiro chose a sword that no one else noticed, while Musashi had an ordinary-looking sword. The sword auction is commonly referred to as a sword test because, in the auction, the swords will choose who will be their master. Each Bushidan will hold the sword, and a special phenomenon will occur, where the sword and Bushidan will emit various auras of different colors. 5 color auras most often appear in sword tests, including green, yellow, blue, white, and red auras, where each color has a different strength. Kojiro passed the sword test, and his chosen sword gave off a bright blue aura. Meanwhile, Musashi still hasn't made it through the sword test and is still trapped in his subconscious. In that subconscious, he recalled the past when Kojiro's father was captured by Tatsuyama's villagers. Then he saw a black aura that turned into a woman who suddenly hugged him, and the phenomenon made him filled with a black aura and black crystals. When she saw what had happened to Musashi, Miss Mitsuru looked shocked because the black aura only occurred in legends, and she had never witnessed it in person. She explained to him that he had failed the sword test because his body aura was a black aura which all Kitetsu swords would reject. That means Musashi will not be able to have a Kitetsu sword like other Bushidans, and he must accept that fact because the color of the body's aura can never be changed. Shortly after, an army of low-level demons appeared in the city and attacked the residents. When Musashi was about to be attacked by one of the demons, Kojiro quickly attacked the demon with a new slash of his Kitetsu sword. After he defeated the demons, the city residents approached Kojiro and praised his greatness, while Musashi could only silently watch all that. After that, all the Bushidan with Kitetsu swords went up the hill to fight the Kishin demon together, leaving Musashi alone. When Musashi was annoyed that he couldn't join the fight with the other Bushidans, he met the mysterious young man he had previously seen in the field. The mysterious young man confessed that he had witnessed Musashi's sword test and said he also had the same aura color as him. The mysterious young man named Shiro Inukai then showed a black aura and crystal from within his body in front of Musashi. He then tells Musashi that he can help him pass the sword test and get the Kitetsu sword. Shiro asked Musashi to merge with the black crystal in his body so that he would become stronger like him. To convince Musashi, Shiro showed his power in front of him by making a big hole that was very deep. But unbeknownst to Musashi, he just wants to use and turn Musashi into one of his swords. Without delaying any longer, Shiro immediately pushed him so that he fell into the deep hole with a Keitetsu sword. Shortly after, Shiro's female assistant, Inusaka Nanao, came and asked him if Musashi had the obsidian goddess soul in his body. It turns out that their real goal is to snatch the soul of the obsidian goddess from Musashi's body. Shiro feels sure that Musashi is bound to the soul of the obsidian goddess because the obsidian goddess power has made him fail the previous sword test. After that, he asked Nanao to keep an eye on Musashi while he went up the hill to defeat the other Bushidons. After Musashi fell to the bottom of the pit, he began to lose consciousness and dreamed of meeting the obsidian goddess. The obsidian goddess asked him to always accompany her and forced him to remember an incident in the past where he was ostracized by the villagers because his family was kind to the Bushidan samurai family. Since Musashi's parents died, Musashi, who lived with his uncle and his aunt, was often mistreated by them. The villagers once forced him to throw stones at Kojiro's father so that the villagers would treat him well. After remembering all the events in the past, his body suddenly turned into crystal because his mind had fused with the mind of the obsidian goddess. On the other hand, when Tsugumi, Kojiro, and the other Bushidan arrived at the top of the hill, they saw Shiro, who killed and defeated the Kishin demon first. Shiro then said he wanted to take all the Keitetsu swords belonging to the Bushidans in that place. Hearing that made them angry and immediately threatened him. Unfortunately, Shiro's strength is much stronger than the strength of the Bushidans in that place, so he can defeat many Bushidans with a single slash of the sword. Kojiro and Tsugumi looked scared when he was in front of them and intended to turn them into his sword. Meanwhile, Musashi had been rescued by Nanao and had regained consciousness from fainting, so he immediately rushed up the hill to save Tsugumi and Kojiro. We are briefly shown by past memories of Musashi apologizing to Kojiro's father for previously throwing stones at him. Kojiro's father, who understood his position, forgave Musashi, and from that day on, he was allowed to live with Kojiro's family. Musashi is very impressed with Kojiro's father, who chose the way of life as a samurai, which is why he has a strong determination to become a Bushidan. On the other hand, Kojiro, cornered, had no choice but to fight against Shiro. He tried his best and took out all his strength from the Keitetsu sword, but all the attacks still couldn't beat him. Fortunately, when he almost killed Kojiro, Musashi arrived just in time to save him. At the same time, Nanao comes to help Shiro face them, so the fight begins. Tsugumi, Kojiro, and Musashi combine their strength and attack Nanao simultaneously, but all of those attacks were blocked by the power of her 7 swords. Kojiro then suggested that they attack her from different directions so they could break her concentration. With Kojiro's brilliant strategy, they could finally corner Nanao and Musashi managed to destroy her sword. Because she lost the battle, Shiro ignored and dumped her because he thought weak partners would only be a burden. Shiro also issued one of his strengths by turning the hill's surface so that the Bushidans fell down and died. Fortunately, Tsugumi, Kojiro, and Musashi managed to survive the disaster by thrusting their swords into the hills. Shiro's strength is enormous, and he considers himself the strongest Bushidan because he can make all Bushidan fall and die with a single blow of his sword. Fortunately, when Musashi and the others nearly fell, the obsidian goddess in his body immediately stopped time and saved everyone. After the obsidian goddess soul reconciled and fused with his soul, Musashi became much stronger and could easily snatch Shiro's sword. Kojiro, Tsugumi, and the other Bushidans were amazed by Musashi's transformation because it was the first time they saw a great strength of a Bushidan. Shortly after that, the obsidian goddess absorbed all the power of Keitetsu's sword in that place to attack Shiro with the ultimate attack. After the ultimate attack defeated him, the obsidian goddess returned to Musashi's body and fell asleep for a long time because she had exerted a lot of strength. All the Bushidans in the place, including Kojiro and Tsugumi, were happy and relieved because they had defeated Shiro, the sword hunter. Meanwhile, Musashi still remembered what the obsidian goddess had said earlier. She had been in Kojiro's father's body as a goddess named Jisa. The swordsmen in the area thanked Musashi for saving their lives, and they promised to make a new Keitetsu sword for him. Unbeknownst to them, Shiro and Nanao were still alive, and they managed to escape with the body of the blue Kishin demon. After the fight ended, Musashi and the others paid their last respects to all the Bushidans who had died on the battlefield against the demons. The next day, the Bushidans and swordsmen deliberately made a special sword test for Musashi so that he could get his Keitetsu sword. Before holding the sword's hilt, Musashi said he wanted to be a Bushidan samurai until he died. Then, after he took hold of the sword's hilt, everyone looked amazed by the fiery red aura emitted by his body. He was also declared to have passed the sword test this time and managed to emit the most powerful aura compared to the other 4 aura colors, namely the color red. On the other hand, Shiro and Nanao were talking about the soul of Jisa, who was known as a great criminal legend 15 years ago. They conclude that after the death of Kojiro's father, Jisa chose Musashi's body as a new vessel to hide in. The next day, Tsugumi, Kojiro, and Musashi are ready to continue their adventure. Unfortunately, after they determine their direction and destination, they get lost in a forest and are suddenly attacked by a green demon that looks like an octopus. With the tentacle trap's power, the demon captured Tsugumi, Kojiro, and another person. Musashi was preparing to defeat the green demon with his Kitetsu sword, and the fight began. In a very short time, Musashi can easily slash the demon's horn and attack the demon's weak point so that all victims are saved. After defeating the green demon, he immediately rescues a beautiful woman that's still trapped inside the green demon's scroll. Shortly after, an old man appeared and addressed the beautiful woman as a princess. It turns out that the beautiful woman is Michiru's daughter, the head of the Bushidan Sarawatari, who is traveling to Harima port. As a thank you, Michiru's daughter gave Musashi and the others a lift. But along the way, the situation became very awkward because she just kept quiet without saying a word. In the middle of the journey, the carriage they were riding suddenly fell into a ravine because the tire ran over a rock. Fortunately, they were rescued by Michiru's Kitetsu sword, which can turn into a glass lotus umbrella. On that occasion, Michiru's daughter explained that she was always quiet throughout the trip because she was shy. She also tells Musashi that his group should go east because the path they are about to take has been blocked by the strongest Kishin demon. The Black Kishin is the first Kishin demon to appear in the Hinamoto, and until now, there is still no human who can defeat it. After that, Michiru's daughter parted with Musashi's group to go to Harima port, where all the Bushidans under the Uesugi alliance had gathered. At Harima port, the entire group of Bushidans who have gathered competes against each other to defeat the demons on Awaji Island because whoever can kill the demon will be promoted to the leader of the Uesugi clan. On the other hand, Nanao is communicating with 8 other obsidian goddesses, and they plan to snatch the obsidian goddess from Musashi's body. They intended to send one of their members to be a spy and approached Musashi secretly. The anime ends and will continue to Season 2.